A special thank you to my patrons NQS and McPuffin, and to YouTube member Holly Miller for supporting the channel and supporting my content. Thank you. How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to another subreddit video. Now, I'm recording this a little later than I would normally record a video, but it's because I today made a discovery of a new subreddit. It's very small. It's only got 8,000 followers. It's called NoNewNormal and is basically dedicated to conspiracy theories and the rejection of the severity of COVID and the rejection of wearing masks or taking anti-COVID precautions. They think that it's overblown. They think that the symptoms are very much just regular cold or flu symptoms. They don't think it's dangerous. Now, it's not the fact that I discovered this subreddit that is the incredible discovery that made me want to record. It's because of the people in it and the posts they make and the hilarity behind everything that I've been able to look up and find out about the posts these people make, because it's hilarious. So, without further ado, let's take a look at r/NoNewNormal. I don't know how long it will last on Reddit, so if you want to see it, go take a look now, because it's possible it will be removed. The Brits are rebelling! British talk show host cuts up his mask live on air. Mark Dolan cuts up his mask live on air. Now, I don't want to be that guy, but you say the Brits are rebelling and say British talk show host. Nobody that actually values journalism or thinks that the news reporting can be accurate cares about Mark Dolan. The most telling thing of the pandemic is the clear display on how much power the media has over populations. The constant display of scaremongering, of deaths and cases, and flat-out support for lockdowns in the media has managed to turn the majority of populations, specifically in the West, to giving up a vast amount of their freedom voluntarily within a few months. Maybe that's because over 1 million people have died. Let's not forget, I know you said in the West, and these aren't exactly Western countries, but New Zealand doesn't have any real lockdown restrictions, and their COVID case is doing really well. And you know why that is? It's because they're not being led by an imbecile who managed to catch the virus himself. Wow! Do people really expect everyone to keep wearing masks and social distancing after a vaccine arrives? That's a joke in itself. Yeah, I'm not losing 2 years of my life to this virus, and neither is most of the world. Life will return to normal for the majority of people within 6 months from now, whether there's a vaccine or not. The more I read these articles, the more I want to just drop all my precautions. It's just pure sadism at this stage. Yeah, just some experts shouting that we will not return to normal in no way means that I will involuntarily follow whatever they say. Besides, they have no authority to influence our decision making. This is my life. Life is way more worth living than just to live by what the experts say 24/7. I love this one because experts have no influence on how I want to live my life is the most ignorant statement I could possibly ever hear. Experts define literally every field they work in. That's why they're experts. Lol, they aren't even moving the goalposts anymore, just removing them from the field entirely. People put up with the restrictions, not seeing their friends and family, not being able to go to loved ones' funerals, mental health issues. The majority, aided by the rules, are best they could with the promise that life would return mostly to normal relatively soon, as long as they kept it up. To tell us now that life will not return to normal is a gross betrayal of trust at best. Have you ever heard of World War? Because we'll be home back in time for Christmas is a statement that was used a lot for a 4-year war. Now, I just want to mention the first one here because he says, do people really expect everyone to keep wearing masks and social distancing after a vaccine arrives? So, wow, that's a lot of people that have autoimmune disease and cannot vaccinate and could possibly be killed due to other people choosing not to vaccinate, wear masks, or social distance. Funny that, isn't it? Bombshell. Former Pfizer executive says COVID-19 pandemic is over. So-called second wave based on fraudulent testing. Now, this might sound like an incredible claim coming from a website, so I decided to do a little digging. Not much digging, I will say. only a little digging. So the website is called DC Dirty Laundry. Now, I did some Googling. Media bias fact check. In review, DC Laundry is an extreme right conspiracy and propaganda website. In fact, the stories published on this site make it difficult to believe that it is not satire. However, there isn't a disclaimer, so we assume they are serious. And then we also have another one from the same website, which is a little graph of factual reporting and bias. They are extremely right-wing biased, and their factual reporting is the lowest that it can be rated on this website. And finally, we have NewsGuard, that is a very trusted website, and they have the little badge on there that says, proceed with caution. This website severely violates basic standards of credibility and transparency. So I didn't click on the link. Literally thousands of doctors and scientists have come out against Fauci's lockdowns, including a Nobel Prize winning biophysicist. The media just doesn't want you to know. So anyway, I looked up USA Supreme. Media bias fact checker rates them an extreme right-wing bias with questionable sourcing. So I didn't click the link. Doomers be like, masks don't protect you, they protect other people. Oh, but Trump got the coronavirus because he refused to wear a mask. We are aware that there is a big hole in our logic and we don't care. Now, this is a gross misrepresentation of what mask wearers are saying. Masks don't protect you, they protect other people. Yes and no. Masks do actually lower the chance of you catching a virus or the severity you catch it, if by not much. But more importantly, they protect other people, which is true, and that's why we wear them. Now, the issue here is that Donald Trump has hosted many rallies in the last few months, packed full of hundreds of people not distancing and not wearing a mask. He encouraged not wearing a mask and mocked Biden for consistently wearing one. And then he caught it. Are you surprised? Because I am not. I feel like the world is dousing itself with gasoline, begging for politicians to light the match. It's such a sad thing for me watching this. I was told that my whole feelings towards this is because I lack empathy for people, but in reality it's the complete opposite. It's my empathy for people that is making this so difficult for me to watch. And then there's just this reply. Ironically, they demand you to be more empathetic, but are not empathetic of the pain and suffering of others during these lockdowns, or the irreversible societal changes. Oh, I'm struggling to read. Basically, if you complain about it in a way that is not sad but glad, they will call you selfish and unempathetic. And they almost always mention their dead grandparents who had COVID-19 as a prop. I'm amazed that you say that they're using their grandparents who died from a virus as some bad excuse. But their grandparents died, dude. Are you gonna ignore that? And not only that, right? But here's the thing. Yes, there are social and societal issues with staying indoors and limiting the amount of contact we have with people, and it can affect your mental health. However, there are things you can do about that. There are ways you can affect that, or at least limit the impact it has on your life. Humans are able to get over that kind of thing. There are 200,000 people dead in America and 1 million people dead worldwide that cannot get over the fact that they have died. That's the difference. You'll make it through this without catching COVID if you take the proper precautions. But when you flaunt those precautions for yourself, you're putting limitless other people at risk. Think of if you catch it and you pass it to 3 people, who pass it to 3 people each, who pass it to 3 people each. Whereas if you had stayed at home and just dealt with the fact that you were feeling a bit sad, those people could all be fine. That's the difference. How the media will conflate mask wearing with Trump COVID diagnosis while ignoring the list of over 40 world leaders who've had it, many wearing masks, and recovered. Many of these folks in that horrible get it and die demographic will keep hearing about it, yet miraculously none did. 2 US senators, half a dozen House members and 2 governors, presidents of Guatemala, Dom Republic, UK. We don't have president, sir. We have a prime minister. Note how you even say prime ministers from Spain, Armenia, and Iran, but you call the UK a president? And let's not forget that the reason that our prime minister caught it was because he was an absolute imbecile bragging about shaking hands with COVID patients. And let's also also not forget that people in places of power that are senators or prime ministers or presidents or world leaders have the best healthcare that could possibly be supplied to them. Normal people, especially in America, don't have that. I would like to add a point that I personally do not hope that Trump dies. I hope that he survives so that he can see him lose this election. And I hope he survives so that he can be put on trial for the millions and millions of dollars that he owes. I hope he survives. Mississippi becomes first state to lift mandate. Forbes.com. So I did a check to see if Forbes was reliable. No, I didn't. Forbes is reliable. Forbes is a good site. But I did look into what exactly is going on. Most importantly, I looked into the state of COVID in Mississippi. So I ranked them by active cases. And funnily enough, Mississippi came into number 40. Mississippi is literally in the lower 10 of states with active cases. Is it surprising they're trying to get back to normal? No, because they're literally one of the states doing the best in the country. Unlike, I don't know, Florida or California, where people are flaunting the rules and have hundreds of thousands of cases. Wow. Flashback 2016. Face masks didn't work then either. Yesterday's scientific dogma is today's discarded fable. So I looked into Technocracy, and wow, would you look at that. We have conspiracy level tinfoil hat, pseudoscience level quackery, factual reporting very low, and we have proceed with caution. This website severely violates basic journalistic standards, so I didn't click the link. They keep giving me this ammunition. They keep holding a water pistol up to my head and giving me a loaded gun in return. That's all they're doing. Why are humans in muzzles? Throwback to when this was first starting, and I did a video, and we looked at a report of a guy who bit the nurse. This nurse was attacked and bitten by a patient who tested positive for the coronavirus. Yeah, he physically bit her because he was angry that he caught the virus. The virus doesn't turn people into animals, guys. Or maybe it does, because a guy bit someone. Not gonna bite anyone through a mask, are you? So this one's interesting. Why aren't more politicians and public health officials calling for a crackdown on obesity in light of recent events? Obesity is correlated with a higher chance of severe case of the virus. If you mention this on the main subreddits, you get downvoted to hell. Why is no public official talking about this? It seems like this would be a great time to get Americans to take better care of themselves. Governors are locking things down, but won't pressure the public to eat healthy food and exercise. This lockdown doesn't feel like a shared sacrifice at all. The portion of the public that is at a healthy weight has to give up months of their life so other Americans can continue to shove their faces between. If we are all in this together, then more Americans need to lose weight. If I have to give up months of my life, then others can give up junk food. Forsey has been strangely silent when it comes to obesity and COVID. He'll admonish house parties, but won't say a goddamn thing about the 40% of the country being obese. I don't agree with everything on this sub, but it would be a lot less invasive for everyone to agree to eat right and exercise versus locking everything down and making everyone suffer. I commend this guy for saying, I don't agree with everything on this sub, because if you go to a conspiracy theorist sub or page and say, I don't agree with a lot of the stuff on this page, you will be lynched. So I commend this man for speaking his mind, and I am on board with most of it. Now, there are some issues in that it takes a long time for people to lose weight. People can diet for months and months and months and still only be from morbidly obese to obese. It takes a long time to become healthy, and in that time, we could be limiting the spread of the virus instead, which would help. Because if we had no precautions, but we did have people exercising, potentially people could die from it before they have the chance to get fit, you know? Anyway, because this guy worded this so well and was reasonable, I decided to reply reply to it myself with my point that is, I think it's down to what affects you personally versus what affects other people. COVID is an ailment that you suffer from, but that you can give to other people and potentially harm them as well. Whereas if you are obese and suffer from issues because of that, your obesity only affects you. Ultimately, dieting, exercising, and personal health are widely a choice made by the person, whereas it is rarely ever the person's choice to catch COVID. Basically, the government can control how I affect other people, but it shouldn't control how I affect myself. Now, a lot of people have this same view with COVID in that the government can't tell me to lock down and can't tell me to wear a mask because it's my body. But it's not just your body, it's everyone else's body as well. Obesity, on the other hand, only affects you. And if your dose of COVID is more severe because you're obese, it's on you for being obese. Something to add in post before I get comments about it is people might be asking the question, but what about people that can't actually control their weight? For example, they could have metabolism issues or issues with their body that causes them to put on a lot more weight than other people. Then it's not their fault if they're overweight and then their course of COVID is more severe. Exactly. At that point, not only do they not have a choice to the state their body is in, but then they're being forced to be at more risk of COVID because other people don't want to reduce the spread of COVID and think that instead everybody should just be more healthy. There are those that cannot control that and would be put at more risk. The idea is that we limit the risk of everybody having a serious case of COVID, not just healthy people. Basically, they're two very different things, and if it only affects you, then the government shouldn't be able to control it, whereas if it's affecting everyone around you, then it makes sense that the government would limit that. And then someone else replied saying, I think we've had enough public health crackdowns, thank you very much. At this point, they need to mind their effing business and leave us alone, which is so naive, and I love that the OP replied with, I respectfully disagree with your point. It's brilliant. It's actually brilliant. I might have to stop recording and start recording the camera again in a minute. Oh no, in fact, this is the last image, so we don't. The old normal. Schools were open, faces were uncovered, interstate travel and religious ceremonies were unrestricted, colleges weren't prisons. Adults were treated each other as human beings with autonomy, not disease vectors. I prefer the old normal. Well, we tried the old normal and it resulted in 200,000 dead Americans, and well, that's why we are where we are, sir. But Alex Berenson, I refuse to take anything you say into account of actually wanting to believe in the betterment of human beings, because on Twitter, you publicly harassed another reporter who works for the same company you did, and it's no surprise that in your Twitter bio, you have former New York Times reporter, because you no longer work for them. And are we surprised? Because I'm not. Wow. I think that's where I'm going to end the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to support me, you can hit that join button down below to get some emotes, or you can join my Patreon. I also stream over at Twitch every Thursday and Saturday. I will be live in 3 hours as of this video going public, so go check that out. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.